Hello, everybody. Brad Johnson here, and I'm in the middle of my self-retreat for the point of no return. And I'm just here at Crescent Beach in my neck of the woods, about a half hour away, just enjoying a sunset that's going to be happening here very shortly. But in this video, I wanted to talk to you all today about a very special topic. It is called You Are the Perfect Perfection. Now, what do I mean by that? In regards to saying, well, Brad's saying that I'm perfect? It's exactly what I'm saying. Oh, no, Brad, you don't understand. I mean, if I have my earliest memory of life, when I go back into as young as I possibly can remember, from that point forward, everything else that happened after was a complete and total disaster. Believe me, I'm imperfect. There is no way that you can call me the perfect perfection. Well, I am going to, because that's who you naturally are. You have to understand that we subscribe to this idea, and I used to subscribe to it as well too, before going a lot more deeper within, that we are the imperfect perfection. But that's not possible. Why is that not possible? Because you have never, ever been imperfect. You've never been it. What do you mean? Well, again, if we're looking at imperfections, we're looking at mind smokescreens. We're looking at mental delusions. And as long as we continue to look at mental delusions, we will create the impression that we have some type of imperfection or a cluster of imperfections within ourselves, or we see imperfections in others. We see imperfections with events. We all see these states of imperfection because we are looking at life linearly. And as long as you live life linearly, you are never ever going to grasp the full scope of life. Because life is infinite. Life is eternal. There is only one life. Even when you're incarnating again and again on different dimensional earths, different dimensions, you're still being a part of the one life. The one life is all that there is. So, when you look at the idea of feeling that you are imperfect, you have created these belief systems. And the reason why they are created is because, mainly, other people have told us these things. They have subscribed to these impressions of imperfections, and they pass it on like a virus to other people, to their family, to their friends, to their children, and more. And we now subscribe to all those states of imperfections because all we have ever been playing with is the mind. So again, whenever you are looking at an imperfection, you are looking at life linearly, which means you might as well be looking at life blind. And you might as well be looking at life deaf, which means that you are blind and deaf voluntarily based upon looking at the perfection of the one life. So these are the mental delusions. These are the smoke screens of mind. It is when you learn to detach yourself from any particular involvement regarding a person, place, event, or thing that you feel holds a state of imperfection, because this is how the universe works. Whenever a person conjures a event that is very high in distortion, there is a counterforce that is simultaneously created while that delusional impression, that delusional thought, is therefore manifested into physical reality for that person. And that person will say, oh, I'm no good at my job. So they get into that thought, they get into that mindset, because they are so involved and attached to that situation. They are, again, linearly looking at this, right? This is the linear distortion. This is us being blind and deaf to the smokescreen. Where on another level, at the exact same time that that thought was conjured, there is a counterforce, which is bringing that entire belief system into harmony, which means you can never throw the earth out of balance. You can never throw the universe out of balance. It's not possible, because there are happenings taking place that we cannot see because we are blind and deaf to life. We are looking at everything linearly. And the only reason you're looking at something linearly is because you have involved yourself with that situation, with that person, place, event, or thing. And you are telling yourself, oh, well, that person is like this. And I don't trust that person, and I don't like that person. This is what they're like that really just makes my skin crawl. And as soon as we say that, well, then we are linearly attached in being blind and deaf to the one life. Because as soon as you make that conclusion, at the exact same time, here is the counterforce. Which means, again, if you're looking at a scale, you can never ever tilt that scale off its balance. Right? It does not matter how much heaviness you put on one side of that scale, the counterforce will always balance it. So what is this? What am I getting at here? What I'm getting at here is that you have never been out of balance. You see? It's your own mind, it's your own delusions, it's your own blindness and deafness to the one life because you are linearly attached to a person, place, event, and thing that is telling you, oh, I'm imperfect, or they're imperfect, or I can't amount to anything, or they can't amount to anything, or this event really, really sucks, and blah, 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 blah. And again, you are constantly doing that out of habit. It is a habit. It is a addiction. It is a belief system. It is mental delusion. It is a smokescreen of the mind. Therefore, when you are able to look at everything non-linearly, which means you are detaching from all of these things that you give delusion and distortion to, you see the counterforce. You see everything. It's like looking at the entire spectrum of the rainbow, rather than just being transfixed on one particular color. If you only see one particular color, or a certain hue of that one particular color, you are blind and deaf to everything else. You put yourself in a little cube, and that is what you feel life is all about. You haven't even begun to live. All you've been doing is surviving. And when you survive, it's because you're looking at everything in attachment to linear-based event. You are looking at other people, you're looking at other things, other events, other places, and you see them in distortion. But as soon as you see something in distortion, poof, here is the counterforce. And you're only ever going to notice that counterforce when you step out of what you are attaching to, when you are getting out of your limitation, when you are getting out of the linearity, when you have chosen to stop being blind and deaf to life. And that again is where we go into meditation. That again is where we center. That is where again we bring reinforcement to ourselves. If we are fundamentally negative, looking at it in one way, then we're bringing fundamental positivity, love, compassion, support, strength to ourselves. We are now adjusting the mind to move it into its silver lining, where we see everything. We're aware of everything. We see the entire spectrum of the rainbow. As we see the entire spectrum of the rainbow, we now see perfection. Because perfection is not an image. It is not something you can find in the mind. I don't care how beautiful your thoughts are. That's not perfection, because that's not what's giving you perfection. The idea of image is a stimulation. It is how you feel within yourself that is bringing you into that perfection. It's you bringing there. It's your own state of balance. It's your own state of harmony. It's to know that you are God and God is you. That you are source and source is you. That you are creator and creator is you. There never has been any other. There never has been anything else. So everything, again, that we see here in the world, relating to all these agendas and stuff like that, the reason why it's so tough is because you keep looking at it linearly. Somebody tells you something horrifying, and you immediately subscribe to it. Why? Because you're still sensitive to fear. You're still susceptible to fear. You're blind and deaf to anything else. As soon as someone says something fearful, you subscribe to it. It's like clicking that little button, and there's a subscription. because that's what you're addicted to. That's your habit. That's your belief. Because you have not given yourself the permission to step out of that, to detach from that situation. Okay, this person is saying this, but you know what? I'm going into my center. I'm looking at the entire spectrum. Yes, this person is saying this, and I'm not denying what they are saying, but I see the counterforce. I see the countering energies. And they are in a whirl, and they're just as powerful as what this thing is. Here's the distortion. Here's the counterforce. And it's getting closer. And it comes together. I see this coming together. I see the counterforce. So this, again, is letting you know, guys, you've never, ever been imperfect. Not a single one of you. All right? Not even the controllers of this planet have ever been imperfect. They will try to implement ideas, but they are blind and deaf because they look at things linearly. And they think that they can control things. And they think that they can try and create agendas and fear vibration. That's what they do. But they are completely ignorant to the idea of the counterforce that is brewing just as strongly, that's going to bring everything back into balance. And for those of us who can detach from that situation and can see the entire rainbow spectrum, say, there's the counterforce. This is nothing to be concerned about, right? For every distortion conjured, there is a counterforce that is instantly created simultaneously. Okay? You can never throw yourself out of balance, truly, when you get out of the delusion of being blind and deaf to life. Okay? You can never throw yourself out of balance. That is only illusion, right? That's smoke and mirrors. That's the smoke screen. You are the perfect perfection. You always have been. You always will be. So when you subscribe to fear, well, there I am again, being blind and deaf to life. The spectrum of life, the rainbow of life. And I'm just tuning into a little bit of the hue of one particular band, and that's all I'm seeing. Well, then you're addicted. You're attached to an outcome. You're attached linearly to a mental delusion. And you are attached to the mind smokescreen. It is not for you to understand your perfection, no matter how deeply you go into mind. An image is not going to do it. A thought is not going to do it. You are going to do it. When you are completely in the center of everything, when you are completely stilled with everything, you will know that you are God and that God is you. And that's the perfection. It's you bringing yourself to that understanding, to that realization that you are God, that you are the perfection. You are perfect. And you always will be. So again, this is just helping you to get a reminder for yourself that whenever I get carried away because of world events, because of what other people are going through in that sense, I feel I have to control people, I feel I have to take responsibility for them, you're getting into your own delusions, right? It's exactly as I've said in the past, that yes, we're here to help, we're here to assist, we are here to look deeper within ourselves and see the entire spectrum. And you will see the counterforce that is happening with other people. And you can make them aware of that counterforce, but they have to be the ones that have to step out of their own linearity, blind and deafness to life for them to see it themselves. Because you may witness them changing. You may know exactly when this is going to take place, but they have to be the ones to see it themselves. Otherwise, you're just speaking a foreign language to them that they don't understand. And that's okay. It's not up to you to fix anybody. Why? Because everybody's perfect. It is the perfect perfection. It is the one life. It does not come down to the idea of you being in a body, of you being a human being, and of you being an identity. You're none of those things. You are not this. You are not this. Right? This is not all there is to you. But we get into that subscribing of feeling, well, if I don't get things right in this lifetime, well, I'm screwed. Give me a break. There is only the one life. And there is only you. Only you in your universe. And in your universe, you have the capability to unsubscribe and detach from all of these mental delusions and distortions that you have been mind controlled, basically, and programmed to go into. When we learn to detach from those things, we're no longer in that trance hypnotic state. And now we see the rainbow because we agree with ourselves, and maybe Brad's onto something here. I am perfect. Everybody around me is perfect. Life is perfect. The earth is perfect. The universe is perfect. All is perfect, because what Brad is saying here is that if there's any time that there's a distorted thought, there's a counterforce that comes together at the same time. But I'm so transfixed on that one thought, I can't see that counterforce because I'm in that cube. I'm too busy staring at that little bit of hue in that one color of the rainbow, and I can't see it. So if I basically detach and back myself up and come into center, and I go beyond all the noise of reality, and I'm not attaching to any outcome, well, then I'm seeing everything. But not through mind, but through spirit. But through the center. Because that's where all exists. And now I can see the counterforce. I can see all these things that I was worried sick about, and I see the counterforce right here. And it's been happening on Earth for billions of years. So why in the hell am I worried about all these things that are happening right now when for billions of years Earth has always completely brought in the counterforce to block anything that is distorted and bring it into harmony? You can't tip the scales. You can't tip the scales of yourself. You can't tip the scales of another. You can't tip the scales of this planet. You can't tip the scales of this galaxy. You can't tip the scales of other dimensions. You can't tip the scales of the universe, because it operates on bands beyond thought. And if thought is not a premise, and it is not a factor in regards to how the universe is, well then, it does not matter how big your thought is. It cannot collapse the structure. Cannot collapse the structure altogether, because it is not revolving around the mind of thought. There are other fabrics and other aspects pertaining to the universe that is not guarded by thought, that is not susceptible by thought. In fact, thought is just a plane. It's a realm of light. But there are planes that exist beyond that, that is of a universal dynamic. And no thought can collapse this system, because no thought is responsible for the entirety of this system. It is creation that even goes beyond the idea of the realm of thought. It is the idea of presence. It is the idea of beingness. And that cannot be collapsed through a thought form, no matter how empowered it is. That's why the universe has always been. We have countless souls in their own universes, playing together in this universe, and never once have they ever come together and said, let's create a thought so big that it'll take out the entire structure of the universe. Can't be done. Because again, the universe exists on higher degrees that is not susceptible to thought. The same goes with our earth. The same goes with everything pertaining to a state of beingness. There is such a balance there. Wherever there has been destruction, yes, it's happened, but there's always been a counterforce. A counterforce that is growing and getting bigger and just as big as that, and it comes together. And it's helping us to understand. If I continue to play together with this linear state of thought, this linear way of living, then I am truly blind and deaf, and I have been surviving in life. I haven't been living life. So it's a reminder, you are perfect imperfection, right? You've never been imperfect. You are always perfect. And you will understand this when you look at the spectrum, when you detach, when you go into your center, when you look at the great spectrum of how life is. That's how you understand this. That's how you're able to align and realize that, yes, there's some intense distortions going on this planet, but there's a counterforce. And I can see that counterforce. And I can see how this is coming about. It's exactly what I'm saying in regards to this whole agenda that's happening right now. There's counterforces. And they are never going to get to the level where these distortions are out of control, because you can't tip the scales. For every action created, the counterforce is co-created as well simultaneously. So, be in your perfection. Know that you are perfect, and go beyond the attachments that you have linearly. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you again in another perspective of the now. Show the way. Beautiful, sacred geometrical clothing, apparel, and accessories imbued with spirit source energy to heal, rejuvenate, detoxify, and strengthen the body. Shop now at healingcodeshop.com. Thank you very much for checking out my channel. Below you'll see my links to social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also go to healingcodecards.com, pick up your own Healing Code Cards body deck, and of course check out my website at newearthteachings.com. Thank you once again, and I'll see you in the next video.